Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Progressive World, where we talk about everything and anything related to the progressive world. So as usual, we have a bunch of little mini episodes. We're going to talk about the whole Aaron Maté, TYT, and Jimmy Dore, of course. And then I went and looked at a few channels, including TYT, to see how many views they average. And I do a little comparison. So we'll get to that, a very simple, basic one, but just to see, what their views are like nowadays. And yeah, what else? We're gonna talk about Briahna Jo Gray, and she sat down with Ryan Grimm. We'll talk about that too. But yeah, let's get right into it. And the first story I wanted to start with was with this comment. So Colin Murphy wrote in one of our previous episodes, explain why you don't blame Anna too much for her bootlicking of Madelaine Albright. It doesn't get much lower than doing PR for a war criminal with blood on her hands. So I think I was talking about this in the context of, their attacks towards Aaron Maté. And I want to answer this question that way. So let's take her interview that she did with Madelaine Albright, who was Secretary of State of the United States under Bill Clinton, which pretty much means that she was in charge of the United States foreign policy. So besides the Iraq thing that everybody points out, I'm sure she's done a bunch of other horrific stuff during that time in the late 90s. But anyway, one is about how she behaved during that interview with Madelaine Albright, and compared to the way she talked about Aaron Maté and she attacked Aaron Maté and all that. And I find that her attack of Aaron Maté and those baseless accusations to be, in a way, much worse than her interview with Madelaine Albright. And let me explain myself why I say this. She did that interview with Madelaine Albright in 2019, right? Which is well into, of course, her career. But she is not, Anna Kasparian is not someone who has done those kind of interviews that much. So maybe this time she was like, let's say, I'm just giving excuse for her. Maybe this was the first time and she didn't know how to react around someone like this. And, in her head, she doesn't even know too much about her history, even though you don't need to know about someone's history if they're Secretary of State. That's all you need to know, that perhaps you need a more former Secretary of State, perhaps you need a more confrontational tone. But that you can be like, okay, maybe she made that mistake once and that she's learned from it, right? So from there, I can perhaps, that's why to me, I'm like, okay, maybe that was a mistake that time. She didn't really know too much. She hasn't done those kind of interviews and all that. Whereas the Aaron Maté stuff, I don't think you can give that same excuse because she's doing it over and over again, making these baseless accusations. So that is why I find that her interview with Madelaine Albright to be maybe not too bad if you take from that point of view of being, okay, perhaps this was her first time. And if she ever did an interview like that, she could be excused. Whereas the stuff that she's saying about Aaron Maté, she's just doing it over and over again. But yeah, go ahead, Sam.
To be honest, I think with both Madelaine Albright and the Aaron Maté attacks in the original one, not the ones that followed up, the sudden at the end of the live show attack one. That one, I generally think they don't do that much research or anything. They just follow the mainstream version of things. And that famous interview in which Madelaine Albright sort of says that it was the sanctions that led to the death of Iraqi children were worth it. That I doubt she even knew about it. But I would say that I agree. To be fair, I didn't know it was in 2019. That makes it, because I was going to defend her on the same grounds that, like if I see a famous person that I really criticized in videos and all that, like President Obama or President Trump, both of whom I really criticize and I hate their policies. If I see them today suddenly in a restaurant or they come up and say hello to me or something, I don't know what will there is a good chance I'll be, hello, how are you doing, sir? There is a good chance. I hope not, but you never know. But if it was into that, like she's quite like she's been in this business for quite some time.
Has she
That
been in
makes
this
it a
business?
bit.
Has she been in this business? Jimmy Dore showed in his last video, which we'll get to, where he responds to Anna. He showed that the kind of videos that Anna and Jake were covering. So they were in the news world, but she doesn't have she's not used to interviewing these kind of people.
At least in the beginning, it was far more tabloidy than real journalism.
And even after that, she was more like someone who'd come and commentate. I see her more as a commentator / anchor, and not necessarily someone, a journalist or someone does interviews.
To be fair, I'm just sorry, I'm giving too much benefit of that anyways. Because
no, same here. Me too.
Before the interview, before the interview, they agree on the questions and all that. So it's probably the whole thing was set up. I doubt Madelaine Albright just gives the off the cuff interview. But so the only I agree with you that the other one may have been slightly worse. And I mean, not defending her or anything. It's just that it's such a lot of mainstream, people do that. It's just,
and like in her head, she was like, oh, first woman. That's kind of the angle that she went to. And of course, now, I'm sure Anna Kasparian would agree that just because Hillary Clinton is a female, that she shouldn't become president.
The first woman who we are all so proud, the first one who dropped bombs on children on her orders. There's a famous cartoon that there are people who are being bombed who are saying, "Thank God, dude, that it's been dropped by a, I don't know,
by a woman,
not by a woman, by a LGBT member of LGBTQ community." It's really funny,
Okay, well, I guess here we have a little agreement, but I have a feeling in our next story we might not.
So we agree with our critic, really.
Yeah.
This was more of not a response, as in, okay.
But this one, I think we agree a bit less. So let's move on to Israel-Palestine. So about 6 months ago, and I'll play the clip now, we made this video talking about how Norman Finkelstein, he was talking to Aaron Maté, and he says that the Palestinian cause is dead.
That comes to my last question. We looked at the genesis, the origins of this so-called historic agreement, and we looked at the consequences on paper of this historic agreement. But it does have significance, and one should not pretend as if it's a full-fledged farce. There are substantive, I wouldn't call it results, I would call it substantive indications from this agreement. The main indication is the Palestine cause is dead.
Norman Finkelstein says this, and play the video here. But okay, now that we saw this short video, I'll talk about the context and what he's talking about. So he was talking about, this was right after the UAE and Israel, and they signed that whole accord, right? So
the number of Arab states, Kuwait, UAE, and
so the
Bahrain,
Abraham
they
Accords.
recognized.
The Abraham Accords. So he was speaking specifically though about Arab leaders. He was saying that they don't even have to pay lip service. And then on top of that, he said that now there is Syria, now there is Yemen. So it's not even the plight of the Palestinians is perhaps not even the worst humanitarian situation you can say in the Middle East. So he kind of says these things, and then he says, well, the Palestinian cause is dead. Again, I think he's just speaking about Arab leaders and perhaps the popularity of this cause, let's say, within some parts of the population in countries in the region, so Arab countries in the region. But back then, and even now, I'm more sure after the thing that happened with Gaza, I think that the Palestinian cause is definitely not dead within people who live in the West, like in Western countries. Like the cause, you could just see when this happened, how strong it was. All these people who I never hear talking about any politics whatsoever, they knew about this. I was again shocked that like how much people know about this particular conflict. And I also mentioned that among the international community, at least they still like act like, that it's an important issue. But more importantly, within Palestine, and of course, these are the people who are being oppressed and everything, perhaps the Palestinian cause, perhaps, and I really don't know this too much, so I'm just saying this like this, perhaps it became stronger than it was 10 years ago, because now it's hearing reports that, it wasn't just Hamas and people living in Gaza, there were like connections with other things that were going, other protests and everything in Jerusalem and other parts that were going on. So perhaps the Palestinian cause was even stronger within Palestine during this time. But yeah, Sam, the floor is yours. I think I can clarify.
No. What do we mean by the Palestinian cause?
Exactly. What do you mean by the Palestinian cause? I guess the Palestinian cause, it can be many things.
All right.
It's just it's not two-state solution or one-state solution. It's just, of course, these people are in that situation in Israel. Yeah, go ahead.
But let's get a specific. Two-state solution, I think, is dead, definitely, because of the leadership of the Arab world. It's significant, like they've accepted, I think, their status quo. And because I think if you look at the settlements, the way they're built geographically and all that, it's just there's no viable even geographical or practical. There is no viable state to be had from what is left of.
Pretty much.
Because of the way the settlements are they're sort of divided the place. And anyways, that's that. So that's my view anyway. One state solution, I mean, that's very much, it depends. I think we already have one state solution.
But I don't see these as being the Palestinian cause. These are different solutions proposed. These are solutions proposed. I guess the Palestinian cause would be just improving the situation of Palestinians. That would be the, now whatever ends up being two-state, one-state, whatever. No, the cause is just these people suffering and improving their situation, and people's awareness around it and the fight for that. I would say this whole last month, this whole battle and war in the last month has made it clear that it's still very much alive, both in Palestine and among activists and all kinds of normal people around the world.
Well, I think there's two ways this thing can go. Either the Palestinians on the West Bank and in Gaza will be integrated within the Israeli state, and that state, whatever it's going to become like they become Israelis, or there's a mix, it becomes a multicultural state, or the Israeli population, the hardcore Jewish faith Zionist population, they destroy the Arab population of Gaza, mostly, less so West Bank and East Jerusalem. So this is the two ways that it can go. Right now, I think it's
two ways that we see. I mean, a lot of different things could happen. I mean, you never know.
Well, okay,
it could just drag on, and
Egypt
different things become different 30, 40 years.
Right now, we are actually in the middle of the process of the latter way, the second way that I explained, that they're slowly and systematically trying to destroy them. And I don't see any reason for that to change, because it seems to be working.
Well, it's working
Israel
as
is
in
not
them
under
taking
any pressure.
Well, it's working as in the sense of Israelis getting more territories and all that, but it's definitely not, the Palestinian population is not going anywhere. I mean, there are more Palestinians and Arab Palestinians in Israel than there are Jewish people.
Sure, but we'll see. 50 years from now, I doubt it. If the situation in Gaza is like this, I doubt it's going to continue. But yeah, I don't know what do we.
One of my main points is really, I said this a few times. I just forgotten how many people know about the Palestinian cause, and for them it's like, you know, a big political issue. That's really
I would
perhaps
point,
one thing
yeah,
I'll
I know
add.
what you mean. Like there is all this talk. I saw this thing on Bad Faith as well, podcast, that they say, like back in the days you couldn't have said anything, but now numbers of the people of Congress have spoken of against
But although
for
I've told you I have a problem
Palestine.
with that, right? I think like Ryan Grimm and Sagar made a video on the Hill saying that, oh, you know, now it shows that Congress people can say this. But I said, no, those were specific people like Rashid Tlaib and stuff who, of course, were going to come out saying this. But now you can see that, what's her name? The lady with the Somali background, and she made that whole comment, and
Ilhan Omar.
Ilhan Omar, and all the criticism and everything she received. So I think the part with the US politicians and even in Congress, I think that part of there being changes was a bit blown out of proportion and a bit early to jump to that conclusion.
No, I don't, to be fair though, I don't think so. Like 20, 30 years ago, there was like, you couldn't find anybody.
Sorry, how many years ago? Sorry, how many years ago?
20 years ago, 2000.
Okay, I'm comparing it more to 6-7 years ago, to the last Gaza attacks.
All right.
And these criticisms, like
even then, though, you
quad.
didn't have any congressperson.
I'm sure if Rashiba Tlaib was in Congress back then, I mean, she's Palestinian descent.
But she wasn't, though. That's the thing.
But she could have been. Not, she didn't become because of this.
No, but the whole landscape is changing, I think, in American politics. That's fair. But but yeah, I mean, it's like, there is the famous quote. I kept trying to go find it, but I don't remember it right, and I don't remember if it was said by an artist or a historian. So, but there was this thing. But yeah, it was about the fact that there is this, like, I think it was an artist that was saying that he had no delusion that his works had no influence or whatsoever, and like he had the example he gave, or the historian gave, was that because before the Nazi Germany, Weimar Republic and the cabaret scene in Germany apparently was the most radical, and it was the most free, like they had the most freedom of speech, and they would discuss the most just because I think there is a freedom to talk about issues and stuff, it doesn't mean it's necessarily a movement has become a stronger, or or a cause has been revived or stuff.
I didn't say it has been revived or become stronger. I'm not even saying they are more
dead,
people.
I mean,
huh?
I mean, you said it's not dead. So,
yes.
Revived came from the dead part, but yeah. No, I'm just saying that just because there are more people who are even concerned about it doesn't. I don't think. Okay. So what?
Well, I mean, it shows that the cause is not dead. That it's not like forgotten. There are some people that it's not dead.
Well, it's not forgotten. I mean, if something's
dead, that means there's nobody there doing anything. Dead. Not really. I don't see why it's practically. Maybe it's not achieving anything. Maybe it's not achieving anything that you can see. Like, yes, Palestinians didn't get a state last week, but that doesn't mean that it's dead.
To me, that's dead.
No, not really. It just means that so far the ultimate goals haven't been achieved, and also that doesn't mean that it's unsuccessful, because perhaps the success was that. Go ahead.
Wait, there are still people in France who support the monarchy, right? And try to revive the monarchy.
Yeah.
So their cause isn't dead?
It's not 100% dead, but of course it's probably 99% dead, because there are some people you just mentioned. I just said like how widespread this support was for Palestinian cause. But anyway, Norman Finkelstein has talked now again so much about, like, he's just back into it, back into Syria. I'm sorry, back about Israel and Palestine and all that. And I would like to hear what he thinks now, because when he made these comments, it was during, like, after a while where Israel Palestine weren't in the news that much, the last Gaza attacks that happened like 5 or 6 years ago. Although what he said is still true. I mean, the UAE leaders and all this didn't do anything, didn't even pay lip service. Only, of course, Qatar and Al Jazeera who were there in the front lines of of the battle against the Israelis. But
Egypt.
well, I mean, Egypt. Okay, let's move on to
Negotiate.
Briahna Joe Gray. I always say Briahna. Is it Briahna Joe Gray?
Brianna, Joy Gray.
Briahna Joe Gray and Ryan Grimm. So they had a nice little sit down. What was the context? Was it part of an event or something, or they just
No,
got together?
no, I think it was. I think Ryan Grimm had been criticized from certain people from the
Yeah,
left.
no, of course. But
And,
where they were sitting, it looked like they were like. I mean, they didn't do it by video. Like they were.
Oh, I
together.
don't
It's
know. I don't. I think they all been vaccinated. Couple of because there was a. But I was going to mention this later. But Brianna Joy Gray does a great interview with Thomas Frank.
Mhm.
Again, discussing populism and that. And and they were. It was 1-to-1 as well. In the same location. So I guess
Interesting.
where they are.
Man, 1-to-1
Vaccinated.
setups are hard, eh? Like if we were supposed to, like, I mean, we're not even in the same country or continent, but if we're supposed to, like, this video thing makes life so much easier. But anyway, that's besides the point.
and yes, and it made CNN and everybody look like YouTube channels.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just
That too.
degraded everything. So it's
But
good.
getting two people in the same frame and then you show so much more. So having to take care of the whole decor of the room, really not something I look forward to. I think we should always do video, even if you're in the room next door. It gives a nice structure and format. But okay,
because
so it was all about forced to vote, really, right? This whole conversation that they had.
yeah.
And it was a
Yes,
two-part video. And the stuff that I got out of it was that Ryan Grimm kind of admitted, well, he admitted, and I mean, Briahna made her same points that she had made with Sam Seder, and he admitted that he was put off because of Jimmy Dore. And so that was accepted here again too. And Ryan Grimm, I would say he kind of admitted that he didn't do the best and that the interview that he did with one of the people, he didn't push enough. So I think what did he do? Did he like admit that he wasn't maybe at his best? I mean, what was the sense that you got? I think like Briahna kind of there managed to make her points that forced to vote could have asked about X, Y, and Z, and it's all about asking people to, you know, try to get something out of it. You know, if you don't like this issue, we could have asked for something else.
I think admitted that he should have had a stronger follow-up questions with I can't pronounce her name.
Which, sorry, to his defense, to his small defense, he is right that when you're the one interviewing, or like running the podcast and everything, you can't really 100% focus. Some people are not that good at focusing on the person's response because they're, you know, thinking about so many things that, so fair, a little bit to him, so I can see that.
He compared himself to Maté Hassan, who's like far more aggressive, and he said, "Oh, it's just not my style." And it's fair enough. To be fair, you see,
not just aggressive, but also
never
like
that aggressive or never that
not just aggressive, but also like
he's just not that.
But also, I think he was trying to say that not just being confrontational, that he didn't follow because he was thinking of the next question, and it's really hard when you're interviewing someone to be in the moment when you're the interviewer. Although that's what you have to try to do.
And then his other response about the fact that basically Intercept has gone soft on these guys, him,
so access journalism,
SK Hill specifically because of access journalism. I don't I mean, I wasn't convinced by this.
This is what
his
he
response
said.
Was that people don't understand access journalism, and they want access to your audience as well. But I think, okay, you're right. This is a completely correct explanation of the mechanism. But with the AOC, now she has the higher hand. So it does make sense for you guys.
And I think his response to access journalism was really valid also for his case, right? Because he says two things. He said that I'm super critical towards these people, and they still come and talk to me. One thing that's debatable, okay, are you perhaps super critical on all kinds of issues? I mean, I don't know about all his work, but that can be a bit contested. And the second point that he makes is like, if you have a big audience, they'll want to come to you no matter what. And it kind of made me think of Joe Rogan, during the presidency, like they wouldn't have cared if the interview with Joe Rogan went good or bad. All the politicians wanted to get on Joe Rogan's podcast because of his audience. So I think some of the answers that he gave about access journalism are true for him because he is a big journalist in this progressive left side. But if you're not this big and you want to get these interviews like all these shitty other journalists do, then it's, you have to be nice.
No,
because
but
if you're nice, they'll come and talk to you even if you don't have a big audience, and you'll get that big interview.
I don't think Intercept is that even.
No, I'm not saying about
like
Intercept.
big.
I'm saying about others.
No, Ryan Grimm is
Ryan
part
Grimm
of Intercept.
within that space. Within that space, the space is big.
Wait. No. Yeah, and they were, look, access journalism is about the fact that politicians gives you interview because they want access to your audience, and the journalists may not go tough on you because they want you coming back, right? Ryan Grimm is not even that, like, he's not a journalist. He's not like he's not he's one of the best journalists out there in my view, but he's not Morning Joe Scarborough or somebody. He's somebody they can ignore, right? So it would make sense for him, and like Intercept is a place AOC can easily ignore. She's fine.
They can ignore. They can
so
ignore. But
yeah.
If anything, comparing to other journalists who kind of have his point of view, he is one of the bigger ones. So if they want to, tap into some of the more left audience, he's one of the bigger journalists in that space.
Yeah, he's fair enough. But that's why but that base is currently the base that is unhappy with them, because they say that you've sacrificed your integrity for I mean, especially the Jeremy Scahill interview, I think was pretty bad.
I didn't see that one.
Sadly, I don't know, to be honest. To be fair, I would think Jeremy Scahill is far more knowledgeable about foreign policy. Maybe he just didn't know.
That's his area. I mean, foreign policy is usually his area. But he's gone quiet. I used to see him everywhere. Just the other time I saw him accidentally on the Rising, like a month and a half. Before, you used to see him everywhere. But
he used to do the podcast a lot. But then
which was really Trump obsessed.
And then
that podcast, I remember. Now you think about it, it wasn't the best.
It became Trump obsessed.
Yeah.
I hated the editing, and then they would feature this fucking RT music.
Yeah, it was too much, and then like
underground Caracas.
Okay, let's move on before we get into trouble. He did say one juicy thing though, Ryan Grimm.
To be fair, I do accept that. Yeah, I think, to be fair, it was an attempt by him at reconciliation, and it should be seen at that, and people should just see his future work and judge it. If it continues, obviously, but it may have been just a one-time thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I stand there too. But he did make one juicy comment.
And that's go ahead.
So apparently, according to him, and he says that there's a clip out there which proves it. I didn't go look, and Briana said you have to ask Jimmy about that, and he said I would love to go back on Jimmy Dore. But apparently, in the beginning of Forced to Vote, Jimmy had him on, and Ryan Grimm spoke with him and gave his concerns, and Jimmy Dore agreed and all that. He was like, yeah, sure, or whatever during the video, and then he didn't upload the video whatsoever, which I think, unless there's a good explanation, it's not the right thing to do.
No, but then the video, that's what Ryan Grimm points out, because he wants to disprove Cenk, then he plays the video.
Yeah.
Because in that video,
No, he
Ryan
just plays
Grimm
a clip
explains
apparently.
clip of the video where he says that why McCarthy can't become the leader.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember specifically at the time, because I watched the video that the clip was in, that was, I think Jimmy responding to Cenk. And I did then go to Jimmy's feed trying to find the video. I couldn't find the video. I assume it's behind the paywall and some Patreon thingy. But if that's true, that's a bit of a dickish move.
True.
And
That's a bit of that could be one explanation. So it would be good
because
if somebody knows more about
remember
this.
looking for it and not finding it. If I was mistaken, though, point me out, because it's just I scrolled. Obviously, I wasn't doing a fucking CIA research. But yeah, that's a bit of a dickish move. But then again, the question does become the next question after that with Ryan Grimm and Cenk. It's always like, that's the weird part, because in the beginning they supported it, but then they just shifted suddenly because AOC.
Anna says in her tweet that it's because of Jimmy Dore. Sam Sager said it's about Jimmy Dore, and I guess Ryan Grimm he wasn't too into it.
Sure, okay, but
I'm not giving an excuse.
What do you mean? No, but because of Jimmy Dore, like
no, it's a shitty excuse. I'm not excusing it. Like Anna literally says in that tweet, a clock is right twice a day.
But even in the beginning, like Sam Cedar says, even though I don't like Jimmy Dore, I think it's a good idea.
But then I guess
it's very odd.
Which is bullshit. But I just remembered, maybe I missed this, but Briahna didn't ask Ryan Grimm about that tweet though. You remember the tweet about the nurses union? And then Ryan Grimm had to fix that and retract it. Oh, I just remembered now. But pretty much, apparently, he has a tweet and it says, I just spoke to the nurses union and they said that they weren't contacted by anyone from Forced to Vote. And then the lady herself comes back and says that's not true. I think they didn't talk about that, right? That one
I don't think so. No, that's a good point.
That one was, I forgot about that. Yeah. But I think that's about it. I think Briahna, she did,
but
good in the
thing
first
is,
part.
I hope it's the first step of one of my favorite, because I love Ryan Grimm. I mean, I know everybody says he's so boring and I love his delivery.
He's not boring in the clip on the Hill.
No, a lot of people, if you go on the comment section, they say we love his takes, but it's just so cold and boring. But it's just my favorite.
But when the takedown of that girl on the Hill is the furthest thing from boring. But okay, let's move on and have some more fun. So Sam, when this first happened on Sunday, I didn't want to comment on it, but I think that now is the time. Oh, should we do the views first? No, we'll do that after, whatever it started.
No. I think,
So on Sunday.
And by the way, for certain people criticize us for commentating on other people's stuff. But I think there is some substance to these things about like who you can trust online and who you can't. And it gets good views. So
1,000,000%. And if people are interested in watching our story on Libya and migrants, we just put it yesterday. No one's forcing you to watch the TYT stuff. You can watch
election debates. Anyone, please.
Please, the videos are right there on our channel. But so when Jimmy Dore came out on Sunday ahead of it and showed that Anna had sent him that message saying that, oh, you remember you said that and I didn't want to say these things and like sexual harassment and all this, I didn't want to comment yet. Although Jimmy Dore, credit to him and still credit to him, he did not dismiss it. He said that, yes, I made that joke. I made a joke that I shouldn't have made about her skirt. Go ahead.
I disagree with you there because you are right. He does say that, but he does say it with a dismissive tone. Yeah, that's all. We talked about this before.
But at least he says that. At least he says that was wrong what he did, and he felt bad about it, about making that joke, right? And it's also important to point out when you talk about these issues, like the degree and severity of it, right? Like making a bad joke, even if it's a bad joke, is different from X, Y, and Z, and you can take it from there, right? Like robbing something small is not as bad as, you know, robbing a bank is not as bad as X, Y, and Z. Okay, but so I didn't want to comment. I wanted to see if Anna has more things to add to that. And Anna and Jake did their video, which I found to be like, nothing. They had nothing else to add, right? I thought maybe Anna would have some more accusations, because I mean, this one Jimmy admitted, sure, I made a bad joke, I know, but in their video there was nothing there. Go ahead.
If they do mention there was a lot of other stuff, they don't go into details. There is
But
a
they don't
mention
say
of
anything.
there is a mention of an incident that I think in the message Anna mentions that Jimmy asked about her where she buys her
Jeans,
jeans
and
or
he
something.
says that, yeah.
I would say I have one positive comment to make about Cenk and Anna video I told you before. I do respect Anna for calmly saying that, okay, guys, if you don't agree with me, please don't message me or like on Twitter, write to me so much, just unsubscribe or unfollow or whatever. I respect that. I don't follow her. I don't
To an
subscribe to her
extent,
stuff.
let's
No,
say if
she
she
was very calm
stops,
and polite
yeah, but
about
let's
it.
say if
That's
she
all.
stops like saying bullshit right now about Aaron or something, sure, you can stop. But when she says bullshit
Yeah,
about
sure,
Aaron or
okay.
someone else, but yeah, let's see if
Fair enough.
starting next week they just decide to forget about it, and people still go and like hammer her. Maybe after a while,
Because
we should leave her alone.
sometimes I went on their Twitter stuff and they put stuff about other things and it's like, people
Yeah.
attacking them, and you're right, what they've done is very bad and stuff, but yeah, I just
But you know,
yeah,
now
you're
it's
right
funny
there.
that you said that. Now they've really shot themselves in the foot. Let me tell you why.
Yeah,
They've
yeah,
really screwed themselves
yeah,
over,
let's get
because
yeah.
Jimmy Dore, after the response that Anna and Cenk made, Jimmy Dore had already won, because they didn't bring any other accusations really in detail, and he had already apologized. But no, he decided to have from the gray zone on, I forgot it,
Ania,
Anya Parampil. So he had
sorry
her
for
on,
mispronounce.
and I mean, they destroyed TYT. And the fact is, if Jimmy Dore hadn't said what he did was wrong, I would have ignored these videos. But he admitted that what he did was wrong, so that was put aside. And then pointing these out, that yes, these don't excuse them, you shouldn't make that joke, but he said that joke was wrong and I'm not justifying it. But then they showed the shit that they were saying before. Now I think TYT have really shot themselves in the foot. If they make one video about a woman, about a guy being somewhere, I can just imagine their comment section just being filled with like, you hypocrites, you talk about this. And the shit that Cenk was saying, so unnecessary, some of them. They could have still had those clickbait videos, but at the end of it, Cenk not mentioning that he wouldn't have sex with Britney Spears. I mean, just leave that alone. He's like, even I wouldn't do her. Or like, I was like, gee, I mean, they kill. I mean, Jimmy Dore and Anya just
I would, to be fair,
them. I've never seen such a one-sided beatdown.
Look,
I mean, it
don't
was
think
insane. Get out of here.
I don't think to be. I'm not. Yeah, wait. I don't think they were so necessarily bad, because, to be honest, when I became big fan of YouTube and stuff, I came from. I started a lot with Young Turks and all that, and their type of program was really like shock jockey and like celebrity newsy, tabloidy, that type of thing. And I think, to be fair, at that time, that was their business model. And I think like Cenk saying those things was like planned and it was scripted, maybe to an extent, some of it probably.
But then you don't have a leg to really stand on to say that the things that accusations that you make now.
And I think they were mostly jokes. Yeah, again, and I do think they are mostly jokes. There is one in which they do an experiment with Anna going out, and that one, I think because even in universities, when you under a social experiment, you have to go ask loads of people, is this ethical? Anyway, but that one, I mean, it wasn't crazy bad. Let's not get out of hand or anything. But still, it just was odd to me. But I think they were joking, and I mean, idiotic jokes, not funny. Some of them somewhat offensive. I think I'm not an expert, but if you've done those things, yeah, exactly, you
That's the whole
can't come and and you haven't like you haven't apologized for them, or you
yeah.
haven't
But
like and the way Anna in her video, like, I love our subscribers, we are here
yeah,
to build a movement.
yeah.
And
Oh, that was so
well,
funny.
okay,
We
I mean,
want
have you
fighters
seen
on our
your
side.
yeah, and the segments, I remember, yeah, exactly, I remember the segments they had besides some of the ones that Jimmy covered. And it was like about, it was like, you know, that British guy, what's his name, I want to say Jeremy Kyle, but I'm not sure. It's more, it's like the one in America, Jerry Springer.
Oh,
Sort of these morning programs that you bring these people that the boyfriend cheated on the girlfriend with the girlfriend's cousins of the
yeah,
blood, and they attack. It was that type of program. It was, you know, and
yeah,
fair enough, you want, you know, you're, and not everybody's supposed to do an
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
No,
news
exactly.
or, yeah, but yeah, it was, yeah, they got the, I think, yeah, it proved how much of a hypocrite, or how much of a short, like, they don't have long memories, do they?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, the video and Anya went specifically after also John
So
Irola.
having a Venezuelan,
No,
yeah,
that,
Venezuelan,
and
this,
also for
yeah.
saying there's no space for
Oh
misogyny.
yeah, yeah,
And then he's
yeah.
like, and she's like, you sit next to Jane.
But I don't think Cenk is a misogynist. I think,
No,
to be fair, he
but
was joking. I
misogyny
mean,
is the
it was
strict.
bad jokes and
No, this is,
offensive jokes and
yeah.
stuff, but I don't think he's just an idiot. He's
Yeah,
a
I mean, he's not
frat
a
boy.
woman hater, but I guess it falls in the larger definition of like
Yeah,
misogyny, I
yeah.
guess you could say. But yeah.
And, yeah, and I do, yeah, and
But
they
man,
said,
I might
yeah,
have to
and
watch Jimmy Dore's video again. I mean, also
and
you know,
I like
they
to
do it
correct
so well,
something
like
though.
video clip after video clip ready. He has some good like producers and stuff.
I like to point out one historical thing that they sort of got wrong, and I feel is very, it's a tiny detail. But you know, Anya says that from the history we read, it was the Young Turks that carried the genocide against the Armenians, and Anna gives cover to Cenk and all that. Armenian genocide is a bit more complex than that, and it started under the Ottomans, I believe, and then Ataturk himself was apparently against it and called it iftizah, which is a sort of a very big common word between Turkish and Persian and all that. And then, but then when they came to power, they continued it because it became a war and all that. So it's a bit complex, and a lot of Turkish, Armenian, and Iranian diaspora, they are connected to each other, because I think I would assume Anna's Armenian family are probably originally from Turkey, or, you know, or something, you know. So there is all those kind of. It's not. I mean, it's a bit unfair to say
I mean,
because he has apologized for his comments on the Armenian genocide a couple
yeah,
of times.
exactly. I don't think we should
So
exactly. I think that one was a bit unfair because also us as people
he
in
has
the on the
apologized
left
for
and
that.
stuff, we have been okay with the name of the Young Turks, and because we've accepted his response, Cenk's response, that it has nothing to do with Turkey and the genocide, but that Young Turks is a definition in English. I forgot. It apparently mean a rebel or a young rebel or something like that. He's explained why he's called the channel Young
The
Turks.
Young Turks refers to a historical group of officers that
But I
committed a
don't think
coup
he named his
against the.
channel after that, at least according to him.
Oh, I thought, okay. I mean, to be fair, I thought
Yeah,
he
look at
did,
this.
but
Look at this.
like on
Sam,
their
Google.
positive
Sam.
aspects, not
No,
on
no, no,
their.
no. Sam, listen. This is just the first thing that comes up on Google. Young Turks, member of a revolutionary party in the Ottoman Empire. So yes, but then after that, it says a young person eager for radical change to the established order. So that's kind of been Cenk's excuse. this whole time for this, and of course doesn't deny the Armenian genocide. So yeah,
But
I
he
think that
just
one,
because
put that one aside.
Young Turks' legacy is a bit complicated. I thought he just focused on the more positive.
No,
because
I mean, that's just what he
in
says.
Yeah, all right.
Who
Okay.
knows if it's
No,
true?
no.
But okay, let's move on to our last story, sticking to the Young Turks. So one of the other things that are said about the Young Turks, which whether it's right or wrong doesn't justify any of the points one way or another, but which is that their viewerships are going down, right? And of course, one thing is clear, a lot of people on the left are upset with them. You can just look at even the comment section of a little YouTube channel as ours. There's suddenly like hundreds of comments of people not liking them. But I decided to take a look at their views, right? And I was telling you, Sam, that if we had access to data, it would be nice to see like how their month of May did, like in 2021, in 2020, 2019, 2028. And then you pointed out one good point, which is even if we had this data, which I haven't been able to obtain it easily, videos obtain more views over the year as well, although after the initial boost. So you would have to somehow control it and limit it to like the first week or first month when the video is published. But still, I thought I would just go look at the views a little bit and do a little comparison and see if anything comes out. So I took the month of May of this year, May 2021, and I compared how many views the following 5 channels got. So TYT, Jimmy Dore, The Rising while they were on the hill, but only The Rising, not the rest of their crap, Kulinski, and The Majority Report, okay? So of course, in total number of views, even this I was in a way surprised, The Rising had more total number of views, although the Young Turks, of course, outdid everybody in the number of videos posted, right? They post so many more views. But I mean, you can just see the success that The Rising was on, that despite they had less videos than TYT, although they published more videos in the month of May than Kulinski, Majority Report, and Jimmy Dore, they still had more views. So they got like 31,888,000 views, whereas TYT got 23,221,000. And I really hope I did all this math and everything right. So that's just a small caveat. But now let's look at the average number of views per video. So the TYT did 111,000 average. Rising did 162. They're the only one who did more. And Jimmy Dore is the other one who came close at 96. Kyle was 75. And I think the main thing that I found really was Majority Report is probably doing worse than everyone. Because then I went and compared the number of views they got with their subscribers. So you take the number of subscriber into consideration. Of course, everybody knows TYT had 5 million or more subscribers. So per subscriber, TYT did the worst. They only got 4.5 views per subscriber, whereas the Majority Report came right after them at 4.9. The Rising just blew everybody away with 24 views per subscriber. And then Jimmy Dore came in at 8 and Kyle Kulinski at 8 views per subscriber, which is pretty much double the ratio of what the Young Turks got, a little bit less.
I would
go ahead.
Okay.
Before we can interpret my little findings, and I hope I calculated
No, go ahead.
right.
No. You did this without my intake. I like to
Yeah, of
that.
course. So tell me.
But I have some. I think, to be honest, when you views per subscribers, you take that into account.
Yeah.
And then Majority Report is doing really bad.
Majority Report is really bad.
Doing really bad because, but look, Majority Report, Kyle Kulinski, Jimmy Dore have about, even the Heel Rising channel, they all have about the same number of subscribers.
And they have
But
more
TYT
recent subscribers, which is important.
Okay, but TYT has 5 times number of their subscribers. So TYT is completely in a different
But for this last part, you
category.
do understand. I took it per subscriber.
Yeah, but their subscriber base is 5 million. Theirs is
Yeah,
1 million.
I
Of
know.
course, it's going to be 4.5. To me, is very good. To me, they're doing really good with 5 million. But you can see Majority Report with 1 million is doing 4.9.
But their channel is doing really bad right now, man. Like
And
if you look at the number of average views, I mean, 28,000.
Kyle Kulinski has one fifth of their viewers, only twice the number
ratio.
of
Exactly. So it's not
so I think
horrible.
TYT
It's
actually,
not horrible, but you can say a few things. They're not horrible, of course, 100%.
Why do you say Majority Report is doing bad right now
compared to the other ones? Maybe before they true, maybe they've always been doing bad, but compared to the
no,
other
you
four.
Said no, I thought you had some extra information.
No, I didn't have their past, so but I doubt they've always had this low. Man, for a million channel, 28,000, I'm sure there was a time, I'm assuming, I really don't watch them. I'm assuming they did a bit better. But yeah, a few things to take into consideration, you could say perhaps. One is that, yes, so they're not doing as horribly as perhaps is being suggested, but we can't compare, unfortunately, TYT to themselves. And maybe if this trend kind of continues in a year, the ratio then might be very bad, right? One thing I would come to their defense is that they've built their subscribers over the years. So people sometimes say, there was a comment I had it, maybe I'll flash on the screen. Someone said, oh, like TYT, they bought their subscribers in mass. I don't think they bought them. I mean, with all these videos that they've done over the years, they've accumulated them. But I'm sure a lot of those people don't even know what the TYT are up to right now. And it's not that they don't like them or unlike them, because I think over the years, your subscribers become more and more relevant. You know, they would have had people from ages ago. So that's one thing. But another thing that works against them, you could say, is that TYT does so many more videos about just bullshit and this or that, where you get a lot of views. Whereas the other guys do a little bit less of those. Although they do it, my hunch is that they do a little bit less. But yeah, I think you can take all of these into consideration. But I mean, really to see if TYT's views are going down, you need to have all their data and see how they're doing, which I'm sure is going down. And whenever people criticize them, like Jimmy Dore and everyone, they talk about specifically their live views and how there aren't that many. And that's another indicator that, of course, we couldn't get into. But yeah, I just had this idea last night, so I put it together very quickly this morning, but I think the numbers, I added them up and typed them correctly. But with that out of the way, Sam, I think that's all we had for this episode of The Progressive World. Maybe in a year, I can do the same thing again and then see where TYT is. But this is just one indication of how they're doing, you know, going.
To be fair, yeah, if somebody wants to do a benchmarking study of this, yeah, we have to take into account so many different factors and all that. This was just a quick look at the thing.
Exactly.
No, not
Which I guess the shock, I think the most shocking thing for me, no, of course not, guys, please don't be ridiculous. I think the one shocking thing for me though was Majority Report. Their average views.
No, I'm not a big fan of Majority Report.
Me neither.
So yeah, I'm not that surprised.
But yeah, me neither. But maybe they don't cover stupid things. I think.
I was surprised that Kyle and Jimmy came about the same. I thought Kyle would be a bit higher because I think he's a bit of more of a broad church.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I calculated him right and stuff. I added everybody right, but I believe so. Because all the numbers add up though. If you look at the total that I give and the average.
I hope.
No, they all make sense in that sense. They all make sense. I didn't.
I hope you haven't, because then we have loads of comments trying to point out our mistakes. Then the engagement rate will go up.
I hope so. I would look forward. to that. But
Hopefully, a
yeah,
couple of math mistakes.
but TYT have shot themselves in the foot in such a bad way that they better not even be looking at like a pigeon in a weird way in their next video, because people will come and destroy them in the comment section.
You know that saying, don't throw a stone if
Oh
you're,
my
yeah,
god. Yo,
they
and
should
Jenk
really-
had that thing about the animal sex and he would pleasure the... I couldn't listen to it. I just skipped it. But anyway,
yeah.
Jimmy Dore's exposés
Bestiality.
are next level.
Again,
Just
I
him
think
on this
he-
screen and he's like just next level expose, I swear. He's like so good at that. The next clip is ready. And then one part
I
he
mean,
was
to
so
be fair, though,
excited.
this is not fun. I mean, this shouldn't be fun. But yeah, I mean, Ania mentions that. That's probably the best part of the whole thing. She mentions that if they wanted to focus on real issues, of course, everybody wanted to join voices and amplify.
Exactly.
Yeah, and sadly, this is, I mean, it's funny, but not funny in a way. So
yeah. No. Okay, so on that note, now that Sam has completely ruined the mood, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and more importantly, share your comments, thoughts, criticisms, everything below, and we'll make sure to get to them. So thank you and see you next time.